Okay, so the National Guard is on their way to Chicago. Fascinating story. First, the facts. Governor Pritzker is the villain here, and I can back that up. So he's been in office for 6 years. During that time, 4,000, mostly African Americans, 80%, have been murdered, and Pritzker has done nothing. What could he do? He could call out the National Guard. Now, President Trump has federalized the Illinois National Guard, so they're going to be called out. But Pritzker could have done that 3-4 years ago. But he didn't do it. Why not? No one knows. Okay? No one knows. 4,000 murdered. Pritzker sits there for 6 years, does nothing. Now, Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, is taking credit for the decline in crime in the Windy City. And that's a legitimate point that Johnson has. Okay? Johnson's racist, in my opinion. He's blaming everything, black people is. All right. But violent crime has come down a bit since Johnson's been in office. I don't know why. Don't know. Okay? But it has. So acknowledge that fact. But you still, the national average of violent crime, Chicago's way above it. Way above it. You can't just say, we're not doing anything because crime's coming down a bit. No, you got dead bodies in the street. Last week, 29 people we shot. 29. One weekend. Wasn't even a holiday weekend. Now we got Columbus Day or Indigenous Day, whatever day, coming up. 3-day weekend. I mean, you probably have 40 or 50 shot. Pritzker cared? No. Johnson, oh, it's coming down. All right, fine. So the National Guard, it looks to me like about 500 of them, some from Texas, some from Illinois. And they are going to be protecting ICE agents on immigration raids. That is the reason they're there. And you know, as we reported yesterday, that the Chicago Police Department isn't protecting the ICE agents. We'll play you the tape in a moment. You know that. And that somebody's got to protect them. If the Chicago cops aren't, or the state troopers aren't going to do it, who's going to do it? National Guard has to do it. And the Guard is there, to be honest, to tamp down crime in the poor South Side areas where these people, drug gangs, are shooting down people at will. Now, they're not going to say that because you're not supposed to use the U.S. military to enforce local and state law. They'll say, we're protecting ICE agents. So we played this yesterday, but it's worth repeating. 10 cars full of protesters approached 3 ICE agents on Saturday. A shootout occurred. One of the protesters was shot. Of course, the Chicago police knew about it almost immediately, and units were on their way to the scene. And then the dispatcher said this. Roll it.
And again, per the chief of patrol, we have all the units that for 999. Chief of patrol said all units clear out from there. We're not sending anybody over to that location.
62, we're going to clear out as soon as we can. Side, we're like locked in over here, so we're going to do the best we can to get out of here as soon as we can.
All right, Chief of Patrol is a guy named John Hein, H-E-I-N. I'd charge him with obstruction of a federal investigation, hindering a federal investigation. You can't do that. Now, he may get off. Okay, due process, he'll have a defense, but I charge him. Joining us from Washington, Dwayne Keys, former U.S. Attorney, Western District of Arkansas. He is now practicing with the National Security Law Firm in D.C. He's a lieutenant colonel in the Arkansas National Guard. So would you charge him, this chief of patrol?
I would probably need a few more facts before I charge him. I definitely see your thoughts, and I agree that there's something that needs to be looked into. My number one concern, Bill, is that police were en route. This was not something where, maybe they didn't have the resources or they were responding to a mass
they were
casualty
going.
across that. They were going. They were en route. I would also like to know. The ICE agents on the ground. did they know police were coming? I mean, were they told, hey, help is on the way? Because if they would have told that, they would have probably acted differently, knowing that reinforcements are coming. And then to pull them out en route, it's extremely disturbing for many reasons. I would like to know exactly this Mr. Hines, Officer Hines. I'd like to know, comments that he made beforehand and afterwards, because obstruction really goes to there's a mental state there that you've got to intentionally be trying to obstruct. His actions seem to indicate that. There's a few more details that I would like, but I will say this, Bill. Even regardless of a criminal, a criminal referral, I think there might be some civil issues here. I mean, there is 4318 USC 1983, which means that if someone acting under color of state law, violates your rights, they can be sued. I think there might be a lawsuit here. These people had the right to be protected by the police. They had the right not to be fired upon. And here it is, the police had the ability to intervene and chose not to. That there might be
they would have to do that as private citizens. But remember,
Absolutely, yes.
There was a woman shot. One of the protesters
Yes.
was shot. She's in FBI custody right now. So it's the Chicago Police Department's jurisdiction, and they wouldn't answer a shootout when we got a bullet. Come on.
And I tell you, I want to add to that, Bill, because this is not a question of a state or a municipality saying that we're not going to enforce federal law or we're not going to aid federal law enforcement officers. What you heard in that clip right there is these are state officers, police officers who are refusing to intervene in state
But they
action.
were ordered, though. They were
I mean,
ordered
they
by their
were-
superior.
Yeah.
Don't go there. And that guy didn't do it on his own. Okay, that chief of
Absolutely.
patrol,
Yeah.
he's got people above him, the mayor, the police chief. And the police chief tried to say before we got the tape yesterday, Counselor, this is just for your information.
Yep.
Before we got the tape, and we got it almost first, the police chief went out and said, oh, no, we were answering the call. No, you weren't.
No, you are.
And, right. So I think that you're right. There has to be an investigation. FBI should be in there and putting it all together. But for me, if all the facts stay the way we know them now, and then you add other evidence, you got to indict. You got to.
I'll tell you one other thing, Bill, that bothers me. And as you know, police officers are one of the few individuals, they actually have a duty to intervene when they see a crime happening. You and I, as regular citizens, we could walk down the street, and if somebody is in need of help or whatnot, medical attention, we can walk right by and we haven't committed a crime. But a police officer, cloaked in that authority, has a duty to act, has a duty to respond. And so to have sent them, had the manpower, had the resources, they were en route, and then to call them off, I mean, you're now violating state law. So it's just a
but the state will never. The state will never.
No,
do it.
absolutely.
It has to be a federal situation. One final question for you.
Sure.
The Trump administration obviously is moving the guard into Chicago, L.A., Portland, Oregon, but there's a political component to this as well. And the political component is that the President of the United States doesn't want to tolerate anarchy and lawlessness. Will that work for or against the federal government if any cases do go into court?
I think it's going to work for the federal government. I think that the president has the absolute right under the Constitution to federalize National Guard, to send them in to protect federal property. And that's just one aspect of it, just to protect federal property, absolutely. But then if the crime gets to the point, if the anarchy gets to the point that the president sees the need that he's got to go in there and restore law, he's got that authority to do. There's some checks he has to go through. But ultimately, this has been tested. It's gone through the courts, and the president does have the power, so long as he follows the law and goes through the correct procedure. Yes, he can send the National Guard in to restore justice, to restore peace and law.
Right, and Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, could have done that years ago, but didn't do it, and nobody knows why, correct?
Absolutely. And in fact, even when the president federalizes the National Guard and sends them in, they can do it in a cooperation agreement. There is
Sure.
a way for a cooperation agreement so that Pritzker will still have command and control of the National Guard from his state, but will act in relationship and cooperation with the federal government. That's
President
the
Trump
way this is
actually
built.
asked Pritzker to do
Absolutely.
that. He requested in writing that Pritzker cooperate with the feds and to get this murder rate under control and to guard ICE agents and federal property. And then Pritzker said no. Again, no reason, militarization and all that. All right, Counselor, thanks very much. I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
It's a big story. This is a big story. And now it's in Pam Bondi's hands. It'll be very fascinating to see what the Attorney General is going to do.